Good evening, and it's movie review time. No, I've not been out to the movies. We are on lockdown here in the UK. But I did watch something on Netflix, recommended by my son Joel. Tiger King. Yes, everybody's talking about it. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you get a Netflix subscription and watch it? Now, first thing you want to know is, what is Tiger King about? Well, first of all, Tiger King is an 8-episode documentary. Now, I emphasise 8 episodes because that is approximately 8 hours long. It's an 8 hours long documentary about, well, it's about a couple of people, but it's principally about 2 people. One is called Joe Exotic, crazy name, crazy guy, and the other is Carol Baskin, crazy lady, crazy lady. And it's about, well, the first thing you learn is a little snippet of information which they give at the beginning, which is that there are more tigers in captivity in the US than there are in the whole of the world in the wild, which is a fascinating snippet of information. Now, there are a number of people in the US, it's always the US, well actually it isn't always the US, but this is about the number of people in the US, chiefly a guy called Joe Exotic, who has a fascination with tigers, lions, ligers, which is a cross between a lion and a tiger, in case you couldn't have worked that out, and a few other animals, chiefly monkeys, occasionally snakes, occasionally, well, big cats, I suppose, pumas, jaguars, that kind of thing, but principally tigers. And Joe Exotic owns a private zoo where he keeps these animals and shows them off to the public who pay. And they also pay to spend time with the tiger cubs, to have their picture taken, to pet them, to play around with them. And Carol Baskin runs an organisation called Big Cat Rescue, and Carol Baskin doesn't like these private zoos. She doesn't like the way they are set up for people's entertainment, and so she tries to rescue these animals so that she can keep them in what, to all intents and purposes, as far as I can see, is just another zoo. Now, there's great play made about this private zoo, and it makes you think, well, all zoos are private, aren't they? I mean, why is Joe Exotic's private zoo any worse or any different, come to that, than the Marquess, or rather the late Marquess of Bath's Longleat Safari Park, or the late John Aspinall's Port Lim and Howlett's zoos, private zoos? I mean, they're called wild animal parks, but isn't it the case that it doesn't matter how big a cage is still a cage? So a tiger might have a very large area to run around in, but it's still a cage, or it might have a small area. And the Tiger King is about the feud, I suppose, between Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin. Joe Exotic doesn't like Carol Baskin because he thinks she wants to free his tigers, and she doesn't like him because she doesn't like the way he brings up his tigers. And it's a documentary. It's one of those documentaries that doesn't really have any narration, and so it's all told in the words of the protagonists. And the editing must have taken a million years, because these various conversations, these various interviews with the various protagonists are cut together to make an episode. And each episode basically follows the same arc. You see Joe Exotic with his animals, and you see him saying he doesn't like Carol Baskin, and then you see Carol Baskin with her animals, and she says she doesn't like Joe Exotic and she doesn't like his animals. It follows a kind of story arc, I suppose you could say, because Joe Exotic's hatred of Carol Baskin reaches levels where he ends up breaking the law and ends up in jail. The trouble with Tiger King is that, first of all, only in America, but then, as I say, not only in America, there are private zoos all over the place. The trouble with Tiger King is just it goes on and on and on. And once you've seen a few scenes of Joe Exotic with his tigers, or there's another odd character with a ponytail, not sure whether that's relevant, called Bhagavan Astor, crazy name, crazy guy, who has a number of wives, and Joe Exotic has a number of husbands, which is hardly, you wouldn't have thought is relevant, but they make quite a big play of it in this. One husband, incidentally, kills himself in rather unfortunate circumstances. So there is a deep tragedy at the heart of this programme, and I suppose the main deep tragedy is, why is it that for some people it's not just wild animals? Why is it that for some people there is a hole in their life which is filled with lions and tigers and so forth? Now, it does point up that there are freedoms in America that don't necessarily exist in the rest of the world, although presumably there is freedom in this country for John Aspinall to have set up his own zoo. But there is a freedom in America that if people are allowed to keep wild animals, well, then some people will keep wild animals, and why not? I suppose it brings them a certain amount of pleasure so long as they're well looked after. And one of the things that you see in this programme is that for all intents and purposes, the animals in Joe Exotic's zoo are better looked after and have bigger cages. A cage is still a cage, but they have bigger cages, and they seem to get more love and affection than they do in Carole Baskin's zoo, even though Carole Baskin, who is apparently unbelievably famous on YouTube, far more famous than I am, and probably makes better films as well. But then people love animals, don't they? And they don't necessarily love watching me on YouTube quite as much as they like watching Carole Baskin telling her stories about what the tiger has done today, or the bath it's had, or what it had for dinner or breakfast, or whatever it is. So Tiger King, well, there it is. It's a programme about people who like tigers. Should you watch it? Well, I suppose if you like tigers, you should watch it. There isn't much scenes of animal cruelty. There are a few scenes where the animals are not looked after as well as they should be. Should you watch it? Well, the trouble with this programme, like many of these programmes on Netflix, I suppose, is that you can boil it down to one rather interesting episode. But 8 episodes, oh come on, life is too short. Life in captivity is too short. Is there an analogy between the tigers kept in their lockdown in captivity and us locked down in captivity? Some of our cages are bigger than others. Some of us have more to eat than others. Some of us have been more affected by coronavirus than others. But are we all tigers? Are we all tigers hidden in a zoo looked after by either Joe Exotic or Carole Baskin? You pays your money and you takes your choice. Thanks for watching. See you next time.